Hello, welcome back to Podium Pop. We are very happy to be back this week. If you might have noticed, we have not posted in the last 2 weeks. That's because we've had some computer issues, but we have luckily got them fixed, and we are back and happy to have an episode here for you today.
Woohoo!
We are going to be recapping the Brazil Grand Prix, and what just a show we had this weekend, mainly just today on Sunday. We're going to get right into today's episode to talk about everything that happened this weekend, but while we have you here, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow us here on our socials, YouTube and Spotify, and also head on over to Instagram and TikTok. We post there a lot, and we have a lot of good content there for you guys. Shall we pop the bottle and get into today's episode?
Let's go ahead and pop the bottle.
Let's just get right into it. Let's start with FP1.
Okay, guys, this whole weekend, I just want to say, it was one thing after another.
Quite literally.
Already, before we even get into FP1, let's talk about media.
That's true, yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk about leading up to the race. So, already, there was just chaos. Chaos the whole time, Thursday and on. So, we started the weekend. Fernando and Kevin are both sick.
Mm-hmm.
K-Mag did attend media on Thursday, but he looked, like, very sweepy.
He was just eepy.
I think he looked pretty cute. He was a little cute. I, didn't know he was sick. I was like, oh, he looks so cute. And then someone was like, he's sick. I'm like, oh. But yeah, Fernando missed the whole day Thursday due to an intestine infection.
After Mexico, he flew back to Europe to get checked out into, like, a doctor over there, a specialist, which is kind of insane because they were, like, so close to Brazil anyway.
Yeah, like, he wouldn't have gone back for, like, no reason.
Yeah, no, it obviously was serious.
Yeah. So, again, already kind of insane. Another thing that happened during the pre-race is, unfortunately, Franco's grandfather passed away. And Kim Illman...
What are you doing?
What are you doing? He announced it. Didn't need to.
No.
Franco didn't announce it. Kim Illman announced it. So it was already like a little...
That's icky.
It's icky. It's just no other way to say it. We can't talk too much about it because we have literally so much to cover. Speaking of Franco, though, there's been a lot of rumors.
Yeah.
We're going to touch a little bit on the rumors because there's a lot of them. But just a very quick, like, quick fire roundup of the rumors being tossed around for the open seats. Keep in mind... These rumors make it sound like there's, like, 1 billion seats open. Technically, there's 2.
Yeah.
I say technically because we know Checo and Red Bull. But some of the rumors. Franco to Sauber has always been a rumor. Franco to RB and Liam to Red Bull. Franco to RB. Franco to Williams and Carlos to... Franco to Williams.
You said Franco to RB twice.
Franco to Red Bull. Franco straight to Red Bull.
Franco straight to Red Bull.
When you pass go, don't collect $200.
Nope, just go.
Straight there.
Straight there.
Franco to stay at Williams and Carlos to Red Bull.
Yeah.
My personal favorite.
We do kind of love that one.
We love that one. There's also rumors about Bortoleto going to Sauber.
These seemed like very likely green light rumors.
Yes,
that Bortoleto was going to Sauber next year.
Yeah, there were rumors that K-Mag was going to Sauber.
Don't separate the husbands.
Don't separate them. It was just a lot. There was a lot of things being thrown around. Did I miss any of the rumors for seats?
I don't think so.
I think I got them all, but like, who even knows? It was just a lot. Seb was back in the paddock.
Oh, yeah. They did something for Senna.
What did you think of his sculpture?
The helmet?
The helmet.
Seb did that?
Well, Seb did that. For people listening, I did parentheses around it. It was made out of recycled parts.
Oh, okay. Seb did that.
Yeah, that was all him.
That was all Seb. I loved it. You know, it got everyone together. I love when Seb is on the grid.
The helmet was really cute. It was full of pictures of, like, Seb's memories. I originally thought it was, like, Senna's pictures inside of it.
Yeah.
No, it was just Seb's own memories. Love that. I mean, he said, it's my sculpture. It's my memories.
My sculpture.
At one point, Seb also took a picture with all of, like, the young guys. Like, it was...
Franco, Ollie, Kimmy, Jack, I think.
And, Bortoleto.
And Bortoleto.
Was also in it, which I thought was really cute that Bortoleto even attended. They're, let's see. I don't know. There's just so much.
We're like rapid fire going through this to get to the race. So if you're like, why are they talking so quick? There's so much.
There's too much. There's too much.
So we're rapid firing through everything to like keep you all up to date. Mm-hmm. And the race, we're going to go more in depth. Trust.
One thing that I think need to spend a little bit of time talking about is the support that Franco had at this Brazil race.
You guys, if you head on over to our TikTok, I cried.
She cried.
I literally
and recorded it for your all's viewing.
No,
pleasure.
I was like literally crying, and then I was like, I should record this. So I did.
Very real.
Yes, so real. Will Buxton said on the news during like FP1 and like the weekend warm up, talked about how flights from Argentina to Sao Paulo were fully booked, so that they started charter buses from Argentina to Sao Paulo. 30 hours it would take them to get there. That's without stops.
Listen, I will say that me as a fan, I am too obsessed with Formula One. Mm-hmm. We literally have a podcast about it. That should tell you right there. And I don't think I want to say that for sure, no, but I can't say that for sure. But I do not think that I would ever drive 30 hours in a bus to go to a Formula One race.
What's your percentage that you would do it?
30 hours on a bus.
Quick.
I don't know, because I'm thinking about it in the perspective of, like, say that if they, like, for some reason got, like, an American on the grid, and it was his very first home race, and I wanted to go support him, and I was super excited about him, it'd probably raise it up a little bit than normal.
That's true.
Say, like, Colton Herta started racing in Formula One out of nowhere, and then I was like, shit, I gotta get to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is more than 30 hours, by the way, but I gotta get to Las Vegas. I would probably be at, like, a 25% that I would go.
I had said 17 to myself.
Yeah.
I think I'd drive my own car before I hopped on the bus.
Absolutely. I would rather just drive my own car.
Yeah, but all the love and the support that Franco was getting was, it was just so heartwarming to see, and I absolutely loved it. Yeah. I don't think there's a single person out there that hated it.
Yeah, it was really special, and especially coming on, like, a weekend that Franco definitely needed that support. Yeah. He also, spoiler alert, to the weekend, he did have not the greatest weekend, which was disappointing for all of the fans that were there to see him. But
I'm still just happy to be there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
apparently, like, all of the drivers, like, they've commented on it on all of the past races as well, but even there was, like, one moment during the drivers' parade where one of the interviewers were like, Lando, are you so excited? You're getting so much support here. All of the fans are cheering for you. He's like, no, they're not cheering for me. They're cheering for Franco.
Yeah.
She was like, no, they're for you. He's like, no, they're for Franco. So it's just really fun and special, and I'm just excited that he's getting a lot of support, and I really hope he gets a spot next year. He deserves a spot next year so bad.
I think he'll get one.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, I think that's everything.
For Media Day?
For Media Day, yeah.
On FUM?
Yeah, I don't have any notes in this, so we're free balling it.
FP1 in the beginning, I only was really paying attention to McLaren, I'll be honest with you. They were doing race pace laps instead of like quali push laps.
It was scary.
And then everybody's kind of like, what are they doing? They also at one point, to cool the tires, just drove through the pits. They didn't stop. And everybody was, like, so confused. And then, like, Ruth had to come on and be like, this is what they're doing. This is why they're doing it. And I was like, and then we were all like, oh, okay, thanks, Ruth. Like,
thank God for Ruth, honestly.
Literally, once again, Ruth is a godsend to F1 TV. Thank
Absolutely.
goodness.
Yeah.
I also, at one point, accidentally switched from F1 TV, like how on F1 TV you can do, like, the world broadcasts. I switched over to, I think it was Sky Sports on accident, or was one of them, and I was like, It's like, get me out of here. I gotta get back to James and Alex.
Yeah.
And Ruth.
We are spoiled with F1 TV,
yeah,
I think.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I could ever watch something. I don't think I could watch Sky Sports. I think I'd have to stay with F1
It was
TV.
rough when I watched Sky Sports at home.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Appreciate you. And then towards the end, McLaren started doing like quali laps, and Lando ended P1, George Russell P2, Ollie Behrman P3. Like, that
I loved that.
It was literally insane. Everybody was so excited for him. Mm-hmm. And then also, so going into Friday morning when we all woke up, it was kind of news like, K-Mag is sick, not feeling well. Ollie's going to drive for FP1. And they're like, if K-Mag's feeling better, he can hop in the car and qualify for sprint. And then very quickly they were like, Ollie's doing the sprint qualifying, which obviously he'd have to do the sprint race. And then we were like, all right. But K-Mag, since it's a sprint weekend and the rules are different, he could have technically hopped into qualifying for the race and then done the race. But I think pretty early on Saturday, they were like, Ollie's taking over for the whole weekend, which I can't tell. Like, I want to know what K-Mag would have done this race.
Oh my gosh. K-Mag loved. Do you remember? I forget what race it was this year, but it was another rainy race, and he like absolutely just catapulted through everyone on the track.
Was it Canada?
Maybe. Oh, it was definitely Canada.
I think it was.
And it was a beautiful sight. And the way that Haas has been recently, I think that they would have qualified pretty high up. And if K-Mag had that, who knows what would have happened?
Literally, who knows?
Anything else for FP1? Max didn't do very well. He was not happy with the car during FP1, and I think he was at 15th.
I believe so. I don't remember.
I think it was around 15. But all in all, kind of no one focused too much on FP1. And that's probably good because there was so much other stuff. Again, you'll see. If you didn't watch the race, you've definitely heard about it, but if you haven't heard about it, you'll see what we're leading up to.
Also, real quick, a lot during FP1, it was just talked about the rain that was coming. The rain, and it was like, it was basically getting to know the track as much and trying to figure out what they were going to do when this rain came.
Yeah.
Because they could practice all day long when it was not raining, but once the rain came in, it changed absolutely everything.
Another thing to note is that this is the very first race being held on new tarmac, which makes things even more difficult because the newer the tarmac, the less grip that there is. And normally when F1 goes to tracks, there have already been other series that have raced on the newer tarmac, even if it has been recently repaved. But this was completely the first one that was on this new tarmac. So that made things difficult as well. So sprint quali.
Yep.
It was, I would say, again, compared to the rest of it, it was pretty standard.
Yeah.
So sprint quali went really well. Oscar qualified first.
Woo.
Lando second, Max third. That right there, that lineup, I'm happy with. Obviously, I wish that Max was a little bit lower just because of the nature of the Drivers' Championship standings right now. But I love Max, so I'm okay with it. But something to note is that, again, talking about the Drivers' Championship, one of the reporters mentioned to Oscar about team orders. And this was before that he even would have gotten into a debrief with McLaren. This was right after sprint quali. He was literally walking away from it, and he was like, "I understand that I may have to give up my spot for Lando, and I'm ready to do it." He's like, "I know that's good for the team, and I also know I don't really care. It's a sprint race."
Oh, so they've talked about this before. This conversation. This isn't the first time. This weekend is not the first time this conversation's happened. He even said that. He was like, "We've been talking about this for a while.
We knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming." And he was like, "It's a sprint race. It's 1 point. I get in the swing of the championship. Why?"
Yeah.
I'm begging you all to stop being stupid.
I mean, yeah.
It's not going to stop because whatever. Anyway, also surprising from sprint quali was Lewis was out in Q1.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sprint race was very great for us.
Stressful.
I was on top of the world. It was stressful, but I was on top of the world. So Oscar and Lando pulled away at first. And then it was Carlos, and then it was Max behind him. Not Carlos, Charles. And then it was Max behind him. The biggest thing to note is that I forget exactly how many laps the sprint race was. It was 20-something. So it goes by quick. And when you are going to swap drivers, you need to make sure that there's enough room behind you to the next person that while you're doing the swap, there's not going to be an opportunity for them to overtake.
Yeah.
Well, McLaren got themselves into some trouble.
A bit of a pickle.
Do you want to explain?
Yeah. So, like we said, Oscar pulled away, was in first, Lando second, Charles third. Charles and Max were just too close to Lando and Oscar for them to pull off a switch because that would have led to, you know, they could have gotten ahead, it could have gone wrong. And there were points where then Charles and Max were battling a bit. And we're like, okay, this is the time. Do it, do it, do it. And it kind of seemed a little bit like the pit wall was changing their mind. Mm-hmm. Not changing their mind, or like things weren't going...
They were being wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy. Things weren't going the exact way Lando thought they would, but the pit wall, they were doing their best, and I criticize them a lot.
Yeah. At the end of the day, and you know what? Ruth actually made this point on the broadcast today. But at the end of the day, they have all of the information, and we have the information we see on TV. And also, like, they get paid, like, hundreds and thousands of dollars. I hope hundreds. I actually don't know how much they get paid, but it's got to be hopefully in the six figures. But at the end of the day, this is what they get paid for. We have to trust them. From the outside perspective, sometimes it seems like they're making really, really silly decisions. But I have recently decided to let go and let God. And I have to trust that McLaren's going to make the right call on things, and that they maybe know something that we don't.
I mean, they did end up making the right call on it for sure. It could have been horrible because the VSC came out.
So a little bit more, like, deeper dive. Yeah. Charles. Okay. Charles was holding Max back for a very long time. Eventually, Max did overtake Charles, so that it was Oscar, Lando, Max. And then the Nico crashed. Or he didn't crash, he kind of just pulled something. He had, like, an issue, like, he bumped the wall. It wasn't, like, a huge crash or anything.
There was no barrier damage to cause a red flag.
Right. But a yellow flag came out because of it.
And to note, a yellow flag came out in one of the sectors only. It was not a full course yellow. It was just in one sector. Yes.
So because of that, McLaren obviously saw the yellow flag happen and was like, oh God, like, let's make this switch right now. So during the yellow flag, Lando and Oscar switched. So now Lando's leading, and it's Lando, Oscar, Max. And then right after they switch, conveniently, the virtual safety car comes out. Listen, I'm not going to look too deep at it because I'm a McLaren fan, but I will say this.
Let God.
I will be completely honest. If I wasn't a McLaren fan, I would be looking deeper into it.
No, for sure.
For a couple different things. You can call it luck. I'm calling it luck. You can call it something else, but I'm going to call it luck. But yeah, so virtual safety car comes out, and then that kind of secured Lando the lead. Another thing to note is that when the virtual safety car was ending, they obviously notify the drivers that it's ending, but they don't do the green flag yet. So when they notified the drivers that the virtual safety car was ending, Max started, like, nudging up next to Oscar and almost, like, acting as if he was going to overtake him before the green flag actually came out, which caused him issues later in life. We have our live reaction posted on our TikTok of that experience of us watching that live. Terrifying moment.
Also, real quick, I saw some people confused about this online, how I brought up a bit how it wasn't a full course yellow and was just a yellow in one sector. And that is a reason why Lando and Oscar were able to swap positions, because they were not on the spot in the track where there was the yellow.
Yes.
So that is why they were able to swap.
Yeah, if they were in that sector, they were not able to overtake each other. So it goes back to green, and from there on, it's pretty standard. Lando ends up finishing Oscar in second, Max in third. There was no bad blood between Lando and Oscar, thank God.
Lando got out right away and thanked Oscar.
Yeah, Lando was very, very appreciative in the media. He made it multiple times. There was even a little, like, mix-up in the press conference where one of the reporters congratulated Oscar on the win, and Oscar's like...
A mix-up.
I know.
She did it on purpose.
But it was... And Oscar was like, I didn't win anything. But, like, Lando was like, no, like, Oscar definitely deserved the win today, and I can only thank him. All of that stuff. And then after the sprint race, the news came out that because of that incident with the virtual safety car ending before the green flag came out, Max did end up getting a 5-place grid penalty.
5-second penalty.
5-second penalty. No.
You got a 5-second penalty.
Oh, you're right. 5-second penalty.
And you got 2 penalty points.
And 2 penalty points, yeah. Because the 5 grid place penalty. We didn't even talk about that. The whole weekend, everyone knew that Max was going to have a 5 grid place penalty for the actual race due to his power unit.
Yes.
Nothing to do with this. He also got a 5-second penalty during the sprint race after it already ended, which dropped him from P3 down to P4, which was really good for Lando in the points. Anything else?
No, I remember we were just still waiting on it. I quite literally went to Twitter, opened up the FIA, I searched their account, and the max penalty came out, and it said posted 20 seconds ago. And we were literally in public, and I was like, oh my god,
we were in line at Chicken Salad Chick, and Gracie goes, oh my god.
We were about to order, and I was like, 5-second penalty, walking up to the counter to order.
I know, I did the same thing with spoiler alert, the Williams announcement this morning.
Oh yeah,
I saw it right when it got posted, and I texted, and then as soon as I texted it, 2 minutes later, the notification popped up from the Formula One app. Are we ready for quali?
Let's get into the Saturday part real quick.
Okay.
So Saturday, rain came. We knew it was coming probably 20 minutes before quali, maybe an hour. I don't remember.
Yeah. This is after the sprint race. Yeah.
No rain happened during the sprint race, or minimal if it was.
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm.
It starts heavily downpouring. The videos were insane, and then they're a thunderstorm is imminent. It is incoming. So then we were sitting there and we were like, it's probably gonna get delayed, and it kept getting delayed by 15-minute increments, and then they'd be like, new update at 15, new update at 30, 45. And then finally, I think at around 5 o'clock track time, they were like, we're going to postpone it. And the rain was still coming, but the sun was due to set in literally an hour. So there was there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
So they postponed it, and they said further information will come out tomorrow. People were throwing around every option possible.
Yes.
The races, if they can't do qualifying, we're doing FP1 results. We're going to do sprint quali results. We're going to do world champion order. Everything you could possibly think of was thrown about for what the starting grid was going to look like.
Yeah, and the reason why so many theories were coming up is because there's nothing written in stone on what they're going to do if there's no quali. In fact, it's never happened before.
No quali happening?
No quali happening. I'm almost positive. Never happened before. And so they were all of these options were being tossed around. They did actually fix this, and next year they came up with the new rule that they're doing championship order, right?
I personally did not hear that.
Oh, I have to double check that. They did make an announcement on what they're going to be doing. I think it's championship order, but don't actually quote me on that. Okay. But all of those options would have been kind of crazy. Championship order wouldn't have been great for, I think of everything from McLaren's perspective, and you all know that, but I say us. It wouldn't have been great for us, but with the grid penalty, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But if they would have gone with, normally they would have gone with FP3, but because of the sprint race, they'd have to go with FP1 results. That would literally put Max last.
And also, it would have put Ollie Berman in third.
Which would have been so crazy.
I'm going to be honest. If there couldn't have been a quali, wanted that because Lando would have been first. I would have loved to see what Ollie and that Haas could have done in third place.
Oh my gosh.
I would have absolutely loved it.
Yeah. And then also if sprint quali would have happened, I also would have been happy. So really, I would have been okay with any of them. Mm-hmm. I would have been fine. In fact, I would have preferred that rather than not preferred it because we had good results for qualifying, but the stress that qualifying gave me.
Oh my god, it was so stressful. I said this, the human body is not meant to endure that much stress at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah. For that long. Qualifying, so much happened, it lasted almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so qualifying, again, starts at 5:30 a.m. our time.
Yes.
7:30 a.m. track time.
Yep.
These drivers, they have to get to the track hours before things start.
Yeah.
Which means that most of them woke up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, Esteban said he woke up at 4:31 a.m. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. But it's just very much so these drivers aren't used to having to wake up this early. Mm-mm. I think that it's very comparable, adjusting the schedule this late in the game and them not being prepared for it and not getting the proper sleep and all that is very similar to what happened at Vegas last year, because there was a lot of delays because of the whole manhole incident.
Do you think they take melatonin? Or sleep aid?
Something. They had to take something.
Charles
because
said he went to bed at 7:30.
Yeah, no. Carlos was I was asleep by 9:30. I'm like, how do these guys do that?
Lando. Someone also tweeted and said Charles loves his nap. It was Saturday night. Someone said, Charles loves his nap. He is already honk shoo me me meing.
Honk shoo me.
I was like, I saw it this morning. I was laughing out loud. Lando literally was like, I went home, had a Nutella sandwich, went to bed.
He was like, it was the best sleep I got the whole time. The whole weekend.
I think they had to have had sleep supplements.
They passed them out. Like, they were leaving all the drivers leaving the paddock. They were passing them out like little treats on their way out. Make sure you get your melatonin gummy.
All the best.
But yeah, so again, very early in the morning for both us and them. Mm-hmm. So quali started. There was rain, and it was pretty heavy downpour at first. They even quali was set to start in like 10 minutes, and they were like, we still don't even know if we're gonna start. Mm-hmm. They did start, and it was pretty much a shit show throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
Q1, both Aston Martins crashed. Not in Q1. I don't remember what Qs they were in. Did anybody crash in Q1?
There was a red flag in every single
session that
happened, and there were 2 in session 3. Quite literally couldn't tell you who crashed in what session. It was so early. We tried to take notes. We're doing our best. The Aston Martins crashed.
The Williams crashed. Who else? I don't know. Alex Albon I think in Q2, Alex Albon had a pretty nasty crash. Q3?
He was close to getting pole. Because Lando had gotten provisional pole, and he got second, and he was going back around to try and get pole.
Because he was supposed to, and then he eventually would have been in 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have been 7th.
Franco crashed in Q2.
Yeah.
Not as bad, though.
Of course, I'm going to talk about Lando Norris, because we love him.
No, Franco crashed in Q1. Because Franco crashed, and they were like, he's just so inexperienced. And then Fernando crashed in Q2.
Oh my god, yeah, that's right.
And they were like, oh, these track conditions. You're like, what?
That was so fucking... That was Sky Sports, too, by the way.
Yeah. Who's surprised?
He was literally shocked.
Will Buxton would never. Well, maybe he would. I've been loving Will Buxton lately.
Yeah, we have been loving Will Buxton. Lando made it through to Q2 literally by
barely.
Like, the skin of his... What does that say? Teeth.
Yeah. He barely made it through. I was scared.
Like, I was sweating the whole time.
Yeah. And then there was a whole... Again, if I was a Red Bull fan, I would be upset about this situation. But during Q2, after one of the crashes, I don't, again, know which one because there were so many. Nico's crash. Nico causes a lot of problems with those crashes. But after the crash, there was again, it was like a yellow flag, and then eventually it was a red flag.
Yeah.
But they did wait a bit to turn into a red flag, and during the time, not Lando, but other people were able to finish their qualifying lap, and that bumped both, not Checo. Checo's already down in the bottom 5, but it did knock Max down to the bottom 5.
It was Charles and Liam.
Were able to finish their lap. That bumped Max down to the bottom 5. And with the red flag, they called the session because there was only like 40-something seconds left, which caused basically both Red Bulls to be out in Q2. Another thing to know is that because their pit box is the closest to the exit of the pit lane, when cars start lining up, they can't line up as well because they can't they have to basically cut people off and maneuver in. It's basically impossible to line up in advance. So they have to wait in their pit lane box or literally be the very first ones out there. And so because they didn't line up in time, they should have waited. But the timing just didn't work out. That also caused some issues.
Checo was pissed. Yeah.
But a lot, and I don't think Max didn't imply this. Max was talking about Charles and Liam. But a lot of fans imply that if Max was able to finish his lap, or if Lando, or if there was immediately a red flag rather than being yellow, and then Lando wouldn't have gotten through.
Which, okay, I'm coming in. Lando was already safely through, would have been safely through to Q1 if he hadn't have finished his lap. He got to finish his lap and it bumped him up to Q1, which pissed a lot of people off. But it was Charles and Liam coming through that bumped Max down. And also, what is making me the most angry is people are coming in and being like, this isn't safe, which, no, it absolutely 100% was not safe. Nico should not have been standing outside of his car waiting for a red flag to be called to be picked up.
Yeah.
But people are coming in and being so mad about it not being a red flag right away because of the fact that they wanted Max through, which I understand that 100%, and they didn't want... Mainly, they were pissed that Lando got up into P1 during Q2, which doesn't freaking matter. But this amount of upset was not shown at all when George was laying sideways in the middle of the track and there was not a red flag called.
Yeah.
People were more upset and throwing around conspiracy theories about the FIA, British bias, and all this shit for a qualifying than they were when there was somebody laying in the middle of the track with cars passing them. Mm-hmm. That makes, like, don't throw out that you're concerned about this and you're so concerned.
You're not going to be consistent.
No, and that makes me just so... Oh, that made me so upset.
Yeah. I don't look at Twitter. I think, and then I do look at Twitter, it bothers you more than it bothers me because I'm like, these people don't know what they're talking about, so I just kind of move on. But people don't know what they're talking about, and they spread a lot of misinformation. We'll talk about it more at the post-race discussion.
Yeah.
But all in all, people were upset about it. And again, if I was a Red Bull fan, I would also be upset about it, but I would also know that, like, there's nothing you can really do. It's shit, but, you know. Whatever.
I just think we should maybe be more, like, consistent with it. And, like, don't pretend like you're so concerned about somebody else when there wasn't nearly enough of this, like, concern about when George...
If you're going to be mad about it, like, be upfront that you're mad about it because of Red
sure.
Bull. Don't be like, it's a safety concern.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go ahead and speak your truth.
Very silly. But at the end of qualifying, again, the biggest things to note were that both of the Red Bulls were out, which was, we thought, great for us. Lando ended up P1, Oscar was P8, and then P2 and P3 were wild.
Insane,
Yuki was like only like a couple tenths off.
Flying.
He was a couple tenths off from taking pole, which would have been so beautiful for him.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But Yuki did qualify P2, and Esteban qualified P3.
No, George.
George
was P2, and Yuki was P3.
And then Esteban was P4?
Yeah.
Okay.
I quite literally at one point was like, holy shit, Yuki's getting pole. I literally thought it was going to happen. He did so good in those conditions. Mm-hmm. Let's quickly talk about Alex Albon.
Yes.
So we had mentioned it briefly. Alex did a lap that got him up into P2, and then he was going around for another flying lap. They normally don't do, like, 2 push laps, but they were having them do this because more rain was coming. And
the Inter's tires are kind of better for it than any of the other tires.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, so Alex, then, we didn't see it happen, but then they just switched the camera view.
I hate when they do that.
Alex's car was just truly in shambles.
It was literally totaled.
It was, like, so wrecked. Once again, I'm so glad he was okay and these safety measures in the car.
Well,
it's
and then
insane.
That was a big concern before qualifying started because, again, normally qualifying is a whole, like, 20 hours before the race starts. And already it's a quick turnaround, and it's a very, I almost said snowy. It's a very rainy qualifying. So, like, while all of these drivers were trying to push really hard to get the most out of the lap, quali is always going to be the fastest laps that they put together. Yeah. So definitely the most dangerous times to be racing in the rain. It's almost better for there to be rain during the race than for it to be during qualifying. But they also had to be very conscious of not totaling their car. Because, again, if you like hit your wing or something and you're out on a normal qualifying, yes, that sucks, but you can easily repair that. But like there's
for the next day.
At the end of qualifying with everyone that had issues, a lot of people were concerned that there would be multiple cars out that wouldn't make it to the race. There weren't multiple, but unfortunately Alex Albon he was not able to race today because of his car being so totaled.
And what didn't help either was, so, like, Franco...
Once again, where's Williams' spare chassis?
I think they have it.
Why didn't he race in it?
They probably didn't have enough time. They probably work on Franco's car. I don't know. But what kind of, like, how Franco crashed out in Q1, his car was stuck on the other side of the track. And then there were so many delays and delays and delays because of more red flags. The longer it got delayed, the less time they had to work on these cars. So then it's like Franco's car has already crashed out. This happened with the Astons too. It's like that. Obviously, they have 2 teams to work on their cars. They have separate teams, but there was just so much work to be done, and I remember thinking about it. I remember when Alex crashed, it, like, panned over to Franco's car, still sitting over there, and I was like, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was rough
for
Williams. They had a pretty bad weekend, all in all. But they did announce, like, officially, like, and people kind of knew, but officially it came out, like, 20 or 30 minutes before the race start, that Alex would not be participating in today's race.
Alex said it in the media as well.
Yeah, which is very reminiscent of Australia. The difference in it is that Franco got to keep his car and it wasn't taken away from him.
Crazy, right?
So that's kind of wild.
Also, during qualifying in Q2, Oscar was when the rain let up, Oscar was the first person to put on inters. Everybody was on the wets, and then just so quickly, everybody was like, "Get those inters on!"
Yeah, because it's always the first person that puts on inters from wets. Everyone waits to see what their lap times look like. Like, an example would be also during the race, again, jumping a little bit, but everything's going to be jumbled around. Charles was the first one to put on inters during the race. He was the first one to change his inters. And everyone was kind of waiting to see what that looked like. It was a bad idea, so nobody else did it. Yeah. But for quali, Oscar absolutely killed his first lap on inters, his first couple laps on inters. So everyone else was like, get those tires on. New boots for everyone.
Which, during Q1, Bottas tried to do that. And
it did not work for him.
It was still too rainy. It didn't work.
It was too rainy.
Chris Medlin was like, there's nothing to lose. He's putting on the inters. Literally, I turned his tweet notifications on to keep up with, like, the qualifying updates. I cackled.
Yeah.
That was so funny to me.
Although, Bottas did make it to Q3.
He did.
Which is very, very rare for a Sauber.
Very rare.
So, starting lineup was all jumbled around. Max did he qualified 12th, but he had that 5-place grid penalty from the power unit, so he was starting in 17th. Zhou was still in 20th, though, so some things never change.
There's got to be consistency somewhere.
We needed some consistency, guys, and Zhou did that for us. Thank you, Zhou. And I'm going to just preface our race notes, because we're about to get into the race. This is all jumbled around. We are not going in chronological order.
We tried.
At all.
Once again.
It's so many things happened. Yeah. That, like, I don't know if it was James Hinchcliffe or Will Buxton that said this, but, like, they're like, you literally could not, like, create this. Like, you could not write this in a book.
No, absolutely
like, that
not.
is how chaotic this is. So, we'll start out with the formation lap.
Let's start with our starting grid first.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and do the starting grid.
Yes. I just had it open. All right, the starting grid was Lando Norris, George Russell, Yuki, Ocon, Lawson. That was also another bit of a shock. Charles, Alex was supposed to start in 7th, but he didn't. But since there was still... It was far enough into everything that they had to keep that grid spot open on the starting grid for him. Oscar Piastri in 8th, Alonso 9th, Stroll 10th, Bottas 11th, Perez 12th, Gasly 13th, Hamilton 14th, Ollie 15th. Oh my gosh, the last names are mixing me up. Franco 16, Max 17, Hülkenberg 18, Zhou 19, and Carlos started from the pit lane.
Which Carlos started from the pit lane because of changes that he had to make because he also went off during quali, which is why he started in the pit lane.
Okay.
So, formation lap.
We have about 20 minutes to get through this, you guys. We're going to...
If you want us to, like, go do, like, a deeper dive into any of these situations, let us know. We can make, like, a TikTok about it and, like, explain more.
Yeah.
But we're literally going to be pounding some information into
We're going to get through this.
We're unfortunately going to be pounding into you right now.
Speaking of...
We're about to pound into you.
Speaking of TikTok, we just got live access, so if you want to hop on over, like, we'll probably be on live all the time because we love it.
Absolutely. We're never going to get off that thing.
Okay, anyway. All right, let's get started.
So, I need to get my pen because I need to check off if we've covered it.
Yep.
Formation lap, Lance crashes.
Lance crashes, he gets his car, like, going again, and then just decides to drive into the gravel.
No, he doesn't go to the very obviously paved area where you're supposed to rejoin the track. No, he goes through the gravel. He gets beached. This causes a lot of issues.
So many issues.
And basically what happens
Lance, I'm struggling to keep defending you. There, I said it.
Yeah, as soon as it was happening, I was like, Gracie. I didn't say much more, but I was thinking it. So because he got beached, that means that they had to bring the crane out, and that caused a delayed start. So the delayed start, everyone gets out of their formation lap, they get around to the front, and then it's announced that there's a delayed start.
It's technically called an aborted start.
Aborted start, yeah. So there's a lot of confusion around, and we see the cars go on another formation lap, and everyone's like, what's going on? I was a little confused.
We think some cars are stalled out, some cars aren't going. We're like, why aren't they going? Like,
because some people went and some people stayed because they're like, there's no green light.
And then some people behind the people that stayed went around them.
Yeah.
It was...
And even the commentators were like, what's going on? Happening? Like, because the cars that didn't go, because they maybe know the rule book a little bit better than some of the other ones, Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas, like, they didn't go. And because of that, the commentators were like, even the commentators who know the rule book were like, I think that something's wrong with the car. They are all switched off for some reason.
Yeah. James was like, let's get a listen on Max's car. And he was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
people were very confused.
Yeah. Max came over the radio and was like, this isn't right. And then GP was like, yeah, you're doing everything right. It's fine.
Yeah. So basically, they were not supposed to go on another formation lap. For some reason, Lando went because his team told him to.
Free my man, he did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong.
No, he did. I'll admit
Well, yeah, he did. He did. Which was hanging over his head the whole race.
Literally,
and literally
up
until literally like an hour ago.
Maybe. It's 8 p.m. right now in EST.
Yeah. So basically, eventually, all of the cars do the formation lap. Once, like, the ones that didn't go, they were like, just go anyways.
Because they had to reorder themselves.
So they go and do the formation lap.
Yep.
And then that's when everyone's like, they obviously weren't supposed to go. That's technically, like, gonna be like something's gonna happen. They're gonna be reprimanded for it.
Yes.
And they're like, we don't have time to investigate this now. We have to investigate it after the race. Mm-hmm. The people that were technically under investigation for this incident was Lando, Yuki, George, and Liam.
Yep.
Because they were the first ones to go, and all the other cars just followed them.
Yeah.
Another thing to note is because of Alex being out of the race, and then eventually Lance being out of the race, there were empty spots in the grid. So that was another issue that they had to make sure to line up correctly and not pull too far forward, which caused some issues with the lineup as well.
Yeah, in the very beginning, Franco pulled up too far, but that's because somebody else pulled up too far. And then again, like, they would have had to go back around again to reorder it. Well, I guess not. Franco would have just gotten a penalty. But I guess that worked out in Franco's favor for the time being.
Yes. So, again, we're just going to spit things off. There were so many crashes during this race. There was so much rain during this race.
So much.
They stayed on inters the whole entire time. Some people did go to wet tires, but it was always either inters or wet. There were a lot of crashes. Carlos crashed. Zhou crashed. There was actually too many to name. Actually, I had literally have that written down. I started naming them, and I was like, actually too many.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think it was like a total of like 15 cars didn't finish the race. Is that correct?
No.
Or no, I mean 5 cars didn't finish the race.
15
finished the race. Yeah.
Carlos.
That'd be crazy if 15 didn't finish.
I was like, what?
That'd be wild.
Alex Albon did not start. Hulkenberg crashed out Stroll. In the very beginning, we just talked about Franco and Carlos.
Zhou finished?
Zhou finished.
Why do I have Zhou? Maybe he went off and then went back on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Restarted. Some other things. Checo at one point had a moment where he spun. Mm-hmm. There was a moment where Liam spun off. Not his own fault, but
free Oscar. He did nothing wrong.
I don't know whose fault that was.
Was that?
Yeah, Liam did spin off because he had contact with Oscar. Oscar got a 10-second penalty for it.
Oscar also apologized.
Oscar went and apologized. That's my man, and it was just complete chaos.
Let's talk about the beginning real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
The beginning, Max Verstappen started 17th. We have talked about this and said this. He did so good, you guys.
Amazing.
Like, I literally think by turn 1, he was up to 11th. That is fantastic. We all know he's a good driver. We all know back in 2016 when he had that fantastic drive in the wet at Sao Paulo, which if you have not watched that, I highly recommend. Very good race. We know he's good. We know he's good in the wets. Like, we know he knows what he's doing. He did a great job, specifically in the beginning, specifically the whole entire race. Anyway, the beginning as well, George took the lead from Lando, like, right away. And
Yeah, I mean, George took the early lead, and then it was like George and Lando, and then
Yuki.
it was George, Lando, Yuki, and Esteban. Mm-hmm. Esteban overtook Yuki actually right away, so it was George, Lando, Esteban, Yuki. Again, pushing forward through a little bit, when the rain was getting really bad, there got to a point where they had to basically decide if they needed to change to new inters. This was already a little bit later in the race. Mm-hmm. But just kind of keeping on the whole George trend there, following that timeline there. There was a virtual safety car. Who knows which one it was? Not me. But there was a virtual safety car that was taken out, and so George and Lando used that opportunity to pit and get new tires as things were kind of slowed down. But as they pit, like literally they were pulling into the pit, the virtual safety car ended. Which again, that just proves that sometimes the virtual safety car works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. So Max, I'm sorry, it worked in your favor this time, so you can't really complain about the other times.
George and Lando were also needing new tires.
They were needing new tires anyways. So they pull in right when this virtual safety car is ending, and that gave Max and the Alpines the tire advantage. Or not the tire advantage yet, but it gave them the lead.
It was like Max, the Alpines, Yuki, they were up there.
Yeah.
I forget who was up there. I think it was, Charles had already pit. So they were all kind of up there. Congregated for the race, and then maybe like a lap later a red flag comes out because was it Nico Hulkenberg or Carlos Sainz?
Who knows which one it was. I think Carlos Sainz was later. I think it was Nico.
The red flag came out because somebody hit the barriers, but really quick before this red flag happened, the rain was so heavy, it was so intense. Ollie came on the radio and quite literally,
it was Franco.
Oh, this was when Franco crashed, yes. But right before Franco crashed, Ollie came on the radio and was like, I don't know what you want me to do here. I can't see. I'm trying not to die right now. He quite literally said the words, I'm trying not to die out here.
Yeah.
He was in survival mode, driving his car, trying not to die because it was so wet. There was so much water buildup. It was still raining. You could not see. And he was like, you got to talk to the FAA.
Yeah. Well, and then Oscar even also made a radio message. And the only ones that I've seen, or Oscar and Ollie saying this, but Oscar was literally like, they either need to put wet tires on, or they need to call the race, or both, because it's I can't drive in this. And I think that's a huge safety concern. Like, we've seen this before where they definitely push it when they should have called the race.
Yeah. Once again, showing inconsistencies with the red flag and when they're calling the red flag.
Yeah. And I do think that majority, to be fair, Oscar and Ollie are some of the two of the youngest drivers on the grid. Them two and Franco are literally the youngest. So 2 out of the youngest, I think that some of the older guys probably would have agreed to keep racing. Like, I bet Max would have wanted to keep racing. Lando probably would have preferred to keep racing, especially considering where they were in the standings at the time that they should have called the red flag. They were probably like, no, let's keep going. But many people said that the conditions were insane. Nico, who did crash out, was doing media afterwards, and he was like, this is some of the worst driving conditions I've ever had to drive in. It's crazy. We have 10 minutes. We got to keep going.
It's just not worth it, the conditions they were in.
Yes. So after the red flag happens, they all pull into the pit. They're able to change their tires. There's no they can change it in the pit lane, basically.
During a red flag, you're allowed to
During
change
the red flag. So that gave Max and Alpine tire advantage, and they were able to lead. And then at this point, Max pretty much just pulls away.
Well, there's the restart, and Esteban gets the lead at the restart. He built a 3-second gap to Max.
He had the lead at the restart.
Yeah, but then there was another yellow that came out.
Yes.
So Esteban has a lead. He pulled away. He got like a 3-second to Max. Max even in an interview, or Max even said to Esteban, he was like, I was happy to let you win this, and which is literally insane.
Yep.
And then another safety car had to come out because I think this time it was Carlos.
Yeah.
Carlos hit the wall. He had to be out. I'm so sorry, Carlos. This helped McLaren in the constructors.
Yeah. I was sad for Carlos, happy for McLaren.
Yep.
So yeah, that happened. Liam causing a lot of chaos. There was a lot of close battles with Oscar, with Ollie, with Checo. Liam, unfortunately, is seeping into my I can't deal with you list.
Yeah, it's happening.
I can appreciate, like, his hunger, for sure. But he was talking a lot of crap in the media. Again, we're not going to talk too much about it because nothing's confirmed.
Yeah, it's also translated.
And it's translated. So if there's more information, we'll probably talk more about it in the next episode.
Even during the race, I also agree a little. I get both sides from last weekend in Mexico, since we can talk about it. I'm going to say it real quick. How Checo said, like, this guy is coming in too much. He doesn't have enough respect, I believe. Checo was kind of saying that about Liam. Mm-hmm. I agree a little bit. Liam's coming in hungry. Like we said, we appreciate it. I feel some of the ways he's going about it is not the best. Yeah.
And, I mean, like I said, he was battling with everyone. Ollie did get a penalty for his battle with Liam as well, which Ollie had a really rough race.
Ollie also famously, he bumped into Liam, and then his engineer came over and said, all right, Ollie, that's a 10-second penalty for contact with Lawson. Ollie goes, why? Didn't cause him any time.
To be fair, honestly, with that bump, it didn't cause Liam... I mean, it did cause him a little bit, but not a lot of time. Not versus, like, the one with Oscar where, like, he literally lost... He spun off. Yeah. With Ollie, it didn't cause him a lot of time. If anything, it caused Ollie much more time. So he's like, didn't I punish myself?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where he was coming from. But again, he did that. Carlos crashed out. Hulkenberg went off. He was able to get restarted. But when he was able to get restarted, the marshals had already kind of helped him. And because of that, he was restarting the race with assistance, which caused him to literally get the black flag and get disqualified.
That's insane.
The last time someone has been disqualified and gotten the black flag during the race was literally back in 2007 at the Canadian Grand Prix.
Crazy.
It doesn't happen very often.
No.
You see disqualifications, but most of the time they come after the race is finished.
Yeah.
Because it causes, like, to disqualify someone from the race, it's like you have to, like, really sit down and, like, be sure this is the right decision. But there was nothing, like, gray about it. It was very, like, black and white. Like, someone helped him.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's very much against the rules. So he got the black flag and he ended up disqualified. But at that point, like, Hulk, you should have just took the L. And, like,
yeah.
Wasn't a great weekend for Haas as well. It wasn't really a great weekend for anyone but Alpine.
Yeah. So then after
Team-wise,
Carlos's safety car, another restart happened. Max gets the lead. He pulls away fantastically. He did, like we said, absolutely great this weekend.
Yep.
Lando had, at that restart, a moment where he went off his, I think he locked up, I believe, or he just slid.
Yep.
I thought he was headed for the barriers. I started crying.
Very scared.
He was able to enter back on the track. He entered behind Oscar. They asked them to switch. Then
Oscar had a 10-second penalty anyway, so it wouldn't have made any sense for Oscar.
Yeah.
Even if like, putting aside that they wanted Lando to get more points than Oscar, putting aside if it was a normal race weekend, they would have swapped anyways because, again, Oscar had that penalty.
He was then going to go chase after Charles, but then Charles had overtook George. Mm-hmm. I said that backwards. Sorry. He was going to then go overtake George Russell. George Russell had then, in that moment, overtaken Charles, so the goal was to get Charles.
If you all are following this, God bless you. God bless you.
No, I just made a mistake. But Charles got too far ahead. Lando couldn't catch him. They were struggling. They admitted it in the end. Both Lando and Oscar were struggling.
Yeah. Another thing that happened near the end of the race is Fernando had a radio message that was absolutely heartbreaking. And he basically was like, he sounded like he was literally crying in the car. If you know Fernando, like I know Fernando, that's insane.
Literally.
And I know Fernando. But basically, he was literally in the car. He was like, listen, this bumping, which also Lewis also was having a lot of porpoising. But they both were having a lot of porpoising. It was causing really bad issues for Fernando's back. And he was like, listen, if it wasn't for the mechanics working so hard to get this car back up and running after qualifying and putting in so much work, I would literally be ending this race. Yeah. I'm going to finish it out for them, but this is killing me. This is not going to work.
Him getting out of the car was that was also heartbreaking. It was rough.
And also, speaking of people complaining about the car, Lewis had a lot of complaints about the Mercedes today.
So many complaints.
He called it undrivable multiple times. Yeah. And he also made a weird comment about how, like, let's, like, finish out, like, he's like, if this is going to be my last race to, like, show up. What did he say? Like,
I don't know.
Something along those lines. And it almost implied that this was going to be his last race with Mercedes.
I also saw it pop up on Instagram, you guys.
Weird. No, I saw the video clip.
Oh, you did?
But I just don't remember what he said.
Oh, okay.
Weird. Very weird, if you ask me. Again, we literally have just a couple minutes left, so I'm going to go down my list and just go boom, boom, boom. I have commentators, in parentheses, pendulum swinging.
Oh my God, you guys
I hear that phrase, like, I get it. it's a great phrase for it. It's actually the perfect way to describe it.
It is,
but you can't use it
much.
20 times in one race.
Take a freaking shot.
James Hinchcliffe, I am looking at you. I love you, James Hinchcliffe. I love you both, but you need to, move on from that. Max is in his obsessed with British media era. I love that for him because I do think that there are times that the media in specific, I don't think that there's, I'm not a conspiracy theorist about like the FIA, what are
you saying?
Favoring the British drivers. But the media definitely favors the
sure.
British drivers. And he made a joke about it in the press conference after the race, which, spoiler alert, Max won and the Alpines were on second and third. He was like, I don't see any British media here. That's kind of crazy because there was no British driver on the podium. Media mixing words. This could be a whole rant, and I'm sure that Gracie will probably maybe either make a TikTok or we'll talk about it more next episode. But a lot of media was coming out after the race that Lando was basically being like, it was just luck, it was just luck, it was just luck. He did say those words, but not in the context that everyone was taking it.
Yeah, it got twisted. It's really unfortunate.
It got really twisted. Unfortunate for Lando, but not that shocking. Again, the media, they do that. Again, right here, Max, amazing run 17 to first. Congratulations. Lewis and Max were best buddies now. Lewis, stop me if you want, but I'm just going to keep going.
Go ahead. Once you're done with this one, I'll say something.
Lewis was complimenting Max every chance that he got. Love that for them. They were also like,
yeah, Max did so great.
They were chatty Cathy's before the race. And it's just nice that they have that kind of camaraderie there.
I think we should end it by saying the 4 drivers at the beginning, Lando, George, Yuki, and Liam, they all got fined for the second formation that happened.
Yes.
It looked like for a while that Lando was going to have some sort of penalty because everybody else's came out and then it was saying like, follow the driver ahead, follow the driver ahead, follow the driver ahead. And then we were like, shit, Lando. But Lando just they got a penalty, and also Mercedes did not get penalties for their tire.
They got fined.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, they got fined because they both had errors with their tire or issues with their tire pressure, both Mercedes. So that was great.
They also got the fine the same amount that Charles got fined for swearing in the media. So what the fuck is up with that?
Yeah, like let's prioritize a little bit better.
We are well and truly out of time. Next week there's no race. We'll talk more about it. We'll talk about CODA since we didn't get to talk about it. I'm sure there's gonna be so much to talk about next weekend. Head to our socials. Make sure you're following. We'll be making some videos. We'll be posting some clips.
We will also post our champagne pops and champagne problems on TikTok because we didn't get a chance to do it on the episode. What a doozy, guys.
Literally.
Let's not ever repeat that, though.
I don't want to happen. My body can't handle that.
My body can't handle it.
Thanks so much for listening. I know it's a little jumbled. I know it's a little quick and rushed. We try to keep these to an hour. Thanks for also supporting us while we were away for a bit and getting my computer fixed. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Bye.